Hello everyone. In this video, we will be looking at first-class functions, or why JavaScript functions are called first-class citizens. So let's understand, what does it mean by first-class citizen? A value in JavaScript is said to be first-class citizen if it can be assigned to another variable, passed as an argument to another function, returned from another function, stored in a data structure. Now let's consider a function and check all these cases. So this is a simple function. Now, you can see that I can simply assign this function to another variable. Now let's test this. Let's execute fn. You can see that hello is printed, so there is no issue. So here, a function can be assigned to another variable. Now, let's create another function, execute. Here you can see that this execute function expects an argument, and inside the function body, we are executing the received function. So if I call execute by passing greet, so you can see that greet is a function, and I'm passing greet as an argument to the execute function. Let's test this. You can see that it prints hello. So we are able to pass a function as an argument to another function. Okay, now let's update this function a little bit. Here you can see that the execute function returns a new function. Okay, now let's use this. I'm calling execute. So when I call execute, it will return a new function. So we can save that new function into a variable. Now let's use that variable. You can see that it prints return a function. So a function can be returned from another function. Okay. Now let's create an array. And I'm saving greet as the first value inside the array. Okay. Now let's execute this function using this array. So I can access the first element using the index, and I can simply invoke it. Again, hello is printed. Now let's save this greet into an object. See? Now let's invoke greet using this object. Again, no issues. So the last statement, it can be stored in a data structure. So all these cases are working with JavaScript functions. So we can simply say that JavaScript functions are first-class citizens. Now the question, why we need first-class functions in JavaScript? Or why ever we need to pass a function as an argument to another function? You probably have used setTimeout function. Here you can see that I'm passing a function as an argument, right? And you probably have used the map function of an array. Okay. Similarly, you have used for each, produce. So here all cases, we are passing a function as an argument to another function, which means almost every JavaScript API depends on functions being first-class citizen. Now, how JavaScript is able to do that? How we can just simply pass a function as an argument or create a function from inside a function and return it, or we can store it into a variable, or we can store it into any data structure. How all these things are possible with the JavaScript function. So let's understand JavaScript functions more in depth. First, let's check the type of the JavaScript function using the type of operator. So I'm simply passing a function here. You can see that the type of a function is function. So there is a function type. Now let's create our greet function again. And let's try to add a property to this function. Okay, now let's try to access the property. Let's remove this. You can see that we are able to add a property to a function and we are able to access its value. So how we can add a property to a block of code? A function is a block of code, right? But we are able to add a property to a function. So in JavaScript, functions are not just some block of code. It's more. Functions are simply objects in JavaScript. So here, let's use another console function. And let's see what it prints. So let's open this. And you can simply see that there is a lot of properties and values. From this, we can say that a function is an object in JavaScript. And this is the field that we added and its value. And you can see a name field and its value is greet, which is the name of the function. So functions are objects in JavaScript. Moreover, functions are a special kind of objects which allows them to invoke the code. Now let's understand what does it mean by a higher order function. If a function receives another function as an argument, or if a function returns another function, then those functions are known as higher order functions in JavaScript. Here you can see the execute function. So this execute function receives another function as an argument. So the execute function is a higher order function. And there is one more case. The execute can be a higher order function. So here it returns another function. So you can see that the execute function returns another function. If any of these cases satisfy, then we can say that the function is a higher order function. Okay. Now, what is a callback function? Again, so the same example. So here you can see that this function is receiving a function as an argument. Okay, so this received function here is a callback function, which means if you are passing a function as an argument to another function, then that function can be called as a callback function. So let's look at some example. So here, if you see setTimeout is a function, we know that. And the first argument is another function. In this case, I'm passing the greet function. So a function receiving another function as an argument. So setTimeout here is a higher order function and greet is a callback function. Okay, another example. Here we have an array and I'm calling the map function of the array instance and I'm passing an anonymous function, a function not having any name. So map is a function which receives a function as an argument. So map is a higher order function. And this anonymous function is a callback function. So this is all about first-class functions in JavaScript.